Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PA1 Call's first episode of Liaison Library AVRs. My name is Kevin Goldblum, and I'll be your host for today. I'm one of 11 damage prevention liaisons in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, I've been with One Call for 16 years, and I take care of 6 counties in the south central part of Pennsylvania. So, what exactly is this liaison library? Well, our favorite part of our job is going out and giving presentations to you. We love educating you, taking your questions, and getting to know all of our members. And unfortunately, that's just not possible right now. So, our team got together and discussed how could we get more information out to our members? And we came up with this idea to hold a monthly series to chat with you about different topics. Each episode will feature damage prevention liaisons and will contain interviews, presentations, short videos, and a chance for you to ask the damage prevention liaisons any questions that you may have about our topic or the law in general. Today's topic will be alleged violation reports, or as we'll call them, AVRs. Now we're going to talk about the what, the where, why, and how conversation on AVRs. Our program today will go to about noon, and if you have any questions at all throughout the day, there's a Q&A box that you can click on and type in your questions, and we will do our best to answer every single one of them. Now, before we get started, I do want to mention just a couple things. The first is that even though our team is not going out and giving presentations, we are giving free online webinars almost every day on various topics such as Coordinate PA, member mapping, web ticket entry, and presentations geared towards designers, excavators, locators, and a whole lot more. If you would like to sign up for any one of our online programs, please go to our education calendar on our website and register. Speaking of our website, as of tomorrow at 4 p.m., a brand new improved version will go live. It'll have a sleek new look and be even easier to navigate and use. So look for that tomorrow at 4 p.m. Now, let's get started with this Liaison Library program. First up, we have a pre-recorded interview with myself and Bill Kiger on alleged violation reporting. So sit back and get comfortable as we dig into our first interview of the day. Hello, my name is Kevin Goldblum. I'm a damage prevention liaison with the Pennsylvania One Call system. And this is going to be our first interview for our new web series called Liaison Library. So today, for the very first interview, we have Bill Kiger. Bill is the president and CEO of Pennsylvania One Call. So how you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing very well, Kevin. Just coming to you from 46 years of experience in damage prevention, a few more on top of that with Bell of Pennsylvania, the telephone company now by the name of Verizon. Was involved in engineering and construction work with Bell for about 7 years prior to joining PA1 Call.
Well, we're very happy to have you here today. And today's topic is AVRs. So we are going to discuss what an AVR is, what needs to be done with the AVRs, just so everybody out there has a good understanding. So let's start off very simply. Can you explain to me what is an AVR?
An AVR is an alleged violation report, and those are specified in the law as any time there is a damage or a violation of a provision in the Act.
Okay. And when should one of these alleged violation reports be filled out?
Anytime there is an incident that involves damage to a facility or a line, or in the case of a violation of the law, so that you want it brought to people's attention that they are violating the law, you may file an AVR at any time. The ones where there is damage, you are required to file that within a certain period of time, and we'll get into that in just a few moments.
Okay. And so if one of these AVRs is filled out, who's actually going to go out there and investigate it?
The understanding is that the investigation will be completely remote unless it is a serious either loss of life or high dollar value damage. They will be investigated from the office rather than on site. For the on-site investigation, the gas safety engineers from the PUC will investigate those, which they do right now. As well as in the case of $50,000 or greater in a gas or pipeline involvement, PHMSA and NTSB could be involved.
Okay. And how many investigators are there that could come out there and see you? How many investigators does the PUC have?
Presently, the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement has 4 investigators with a supervisor. The gas engineers, there are approximately 30. And they live throughout the state and work from their homes.
Okay. And then, so how would I submit an AVR if I needed to do so?
Okay, all AVRs must be filed through an electronic system, was housed on the Pennsylvania One Call website, www.pa1call.org. And
where on the website would I go to find that?
You would click on the enforcement tab, which is in the upper right-hand corner in the blue bar. Unfortunately, we are about to revise our website, and later in October, we will be putting that into effect.
Okay. And can I possibly call one in, or do I always have to go to the website to do it?
You always have to enter it via the website. Calling it in when you need pictures, you need additional information, various types of things that you would want to include in the filing. Also, there are quite a number of questions, and you should be prepared to answer those questions when you start the process, whether you thought you were going to do it verbally or entering it into the system. Certain facility owner members of ours have a step in between so that the person that was directly involved fills out the form and then sends it over to his supervisor or the damage prevention group within his organization, and then they file it after filling in all the details such as the cost, the estimated cost anyway at that point in time. So basically, the persons involved fill one out. And if one is filled out by the excavator in a damage situation, then it precipitates additional filings by one of the other 3 parties involved in a notification for excavation.
Okay. So it sounds like you need a lot of information for one of these AVRs. And how long does it take to fill one of these out? And do I have to fill out every question on the form?
The questions are very straightforward. If you hover over the box that you're entering, it will give you suggestions or tell you could just pick one from the drop-down list, or it tells you what it's expecting you to give it right by hovering over that box.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what is the time frame that I have if I need to fill one of these AVRs out?
Okay, first of all, you have to fill it out if you have damaged or in any way, shape, or form. If you've scratched, if you've damaged the coating, if you've knocked off one of the connections to it, any even small damage, you must report it. And excavator damage is required within 10 business days. In addition to that, the project owner, the person he's working for, must submit it within 10 days. And the project owner is responsible for the excavator to file as well. So it would be another violation if the excavator does not and the project owner doesn't file, then he would be subject to a penalty as well.
Okay. And so it sounds like everybody is responsible, the way you just said that, for submitting one of these AVRs. Is that true?
Well, if you find the damage and you don't know who damaged it, then the project owner, obviously you don't know, and the excavator you don't know. So you file it as the facility owner, damaged facility owner, and then you have 30 business days to file that one. A facility owner does not have to file damage under $2,500, but we certainly suggest that you keep records, because ultimately when the excavator files or the project owner files, you're going to need to tell your story, because they're only going to tell it from their perspective. And you want your side of the message to be as clear and concise as possible.
Right. Well, that makes sense, to get everybody's side of the story. We want to get all sides. So that does make sense. All right, great. Now, who exactly would determine the price amounts for penalties, since there does not seem to be a set amount for penalties?
Well, the investigators have a guideline. That is not a published guideline because it's subject to change by the DPC. So they have a guideline to follow, and they follow that when they make the recommendation to the DPC. So if they recommend a $500 fine, it can go up to $2,500 per violation. But I've seen cases where the total amount is in the $30,000 range. But that could be to more than one party, not just an individual party.
Okay. Now, you did bring up the DPC just now. So can you explain to me exactly what the DPC is and what that stands for?
Surely. The DPC is a Damage Prevention Committee, and it is a non-legal, non-binding group of experts in the industry. So there are stakeholders from the construction industry, which 3 are included, the communications industry, the electric industry, the gas and pipeline industry, One Call, the Department of Transportation, and the PUC. The PUC's representative is the chair of the group of 13 folks, so that they get to vote only when there is a tie amongst the other 12.
Has that ever happened before, where they had to have the tiebreaker?
Only twice so far.
Okay. Well, that makes it exciting then, not knowing which way it's going to come out. All right. And so what is the maximum penalty amount that the DPC has the authority to levy?
Again, that is $2,500 per violation. So it does not mean per case or per incident. It means for each violation found on that particular incident or case. Okay. So if you use mechanical equipment in the tolerance zone before you found the line, other than breaking the hard surface, then that would be one. If you didn't protect the line as you were excavating down and it got damaged because of that, then that could be a second violation, and a second up to $2,500. Again, that typically runs into, it starts out at, say, $500, and then depending on various factors involved, could go up to $2,500. And again, that would be the amount of damage, if there were injuries involved, what number of violations you had before, so it would grow from that point forward.
Okay, got it. And now I also hear that if sometimes what you push them towards education. So I want to know a little bit about that. Like, where can they go for this education, this compliance training? Does PA One Call provide it, or is it someone else that does it?
PA One Call provides free education to the parties involved. So everyone involved with the organization, the company that either did the damage or made the violation should receive education. That education is given under current conditions virtually. In the previous year and a half prior to the COVID coming out into causing us to be working from home and so on, That was done in 3 training centers that were given to us, or the use of was given to us by one of our members, Columbia Gas Facility in Monaca, Pennsylvania, which is on the Beaver County border. There's one at People's Gas in Glenshaw, and there's one in PP&L in Harrisburg, and PP&L in the Allentown area. So their training centers, 3 of them, all of this, or 4 of them, I'm sorry, all of them are on our website. All of that information as it moves forward is available for you to access on our website. You can sign up for the education. There is a test at the end that is graded by one of the investigators at the commission. So it is important that you review the law, review the requirements you have in doing that. We do one session for excavators and another session for the facility owners, referring to their locating efforts.
Okay. And for this test that you were talking about, is that a multiple choice test? Is it written out answers? Is it both?
It's both. It's the combination of true and false questions, and there is a couple of essay questions as well.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you mentioned or not, is there a fee to take this test or come to this class?
Through Pennsylvania One Call, there is no fee.
Well, that's a pretty good deal right there then.
It is.
And I just want to mention that all of our trainings are free. So please feel free to sign up for anything at all with us. We'd be happy to train you for no cost at all. All right. Now, am I required to go to the DPC hearing if my case gets brought up?
You are invited to come to the hearing. If you choose to come, you need to become prepared to answer questions on the filing that you've made and bring any evidence. We ask you to submit that evidence in advance, because that has to go out to the DPC committee members with a week or so in advance of the meeting, so that they can do their diligence in learning about the incident and working through the process of the various details according to what you've said, what the facility owner has to say, what the project owner has to say, and what the engineer has to say as a designer.
Okay. It seems like to me it would make sense for you to show up to your own case. Is that typically what happens? Do people usually show up for it?
Well, again, today, in the COVID environment, we are virtual. So all you really need is a computer and with a microphone and a camera and the evidence that you want to provide. We, again, prefer that it's all done in advance, especially getting the surprise that something is completely different from what you said in the body of your AVR. Makes everyone scratch their head, and that's not a positive thing in most cases.
Right. Well, so then really you have no excuse not to show up, since it's just turning on your laptop. So right. Yeah, it would probably be a good recommendation for you always to go to one of those. Okay. And now, if I am going there, so what are the most effective forms of evidence that I can provide to either defend or prove my actions?
Pictures, pictures, pictures. So you really need to take pictures of the overall site so that you put a frame around the picture, and then start your way into the damage. Don't take pictures up close where you can't really tell where it is or how it was taken. You just make a sequence of pictures from 4 different directions so that you have all the possible viewpoints that you can, and identify your story in a step-by-step process. Telling the story is the best possible way to get your case across to the DPC members. They are people that have done the work you're talking about for some decades in most cases. So there are most of the people on the board on this committee have between 20 and 40 years of involvement in damage prevention.
Okay. And once I have these pictures, what do I do with them? Do I just send them in?
You can attach them directly to the AVR. You can also contact the commission and send them directly to the commission if you've already filled out your AVR and you don't have a way to get it to them. You can email them directly to the investigator or CASHA.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty easy, especially if I can just upload them right to the form.
Yes.
Is it unlimited pictures that I can upload to that form?
There is no direct limit. I can tell you we had an issue with someone sending in 125 pictures in one file. That choked the system pretty good.
Well, so you did say take as many pictures as possible.
Yes, but you don't have to put them all in one file.
Okay.
So you can attach them appropriate, put them in separate files or three. Again, it depends on the picture itself. If it's a 50 meg picture, obviously a couple of them is a lot of megabytes. So try to keep it under 100 megabytes per file. Okay.
And then I understand that you can also use something called a hit kit for the pictures also, and that helps?
Yes, there is a hit kit that's manufactured by Rhino markers. You can go on their website, tell them that you are involved with Pennsylvania One Call, and they offer a 10% discount as a member associate with PA One Call. They run around $300, but you will use them over and over again as the process goes on. I would also recommend that you buy the widest tape measure that you can find. One comes in the package, which is about 3 feet long, and it is marked appropriately for the 18-inch tolerance zone so that you can lay them down and indicate the tolerance zone. And then there's little pylons for where the marks were and where the damage is. And it just brings everybody's attention directly in focus with what you're trying to explain.
Okay. All right, that's a good idea to get one of those. And that's great that they give a 10% discount too.
Yeah. Each crew should have one. Very important for you to tell your story as clearly and concisely as possible.
Okay. And coming up after this interview, we will have a video that actually shows how the hit kit works. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All right. So what are some of the most common violations that are found on these AVRs?
Well, at the latest meeting, we talked about the number of total number and the total dollars involved in damages, and those reflect the commission essentially taking the information that One Call provides them in cases where a facility owner does not mark in a timely enough fashion or is a little late responding. So those cases see a $500 with a factor. If it's their first time, it's $500. If it's a second time, it's $750. If it's third time, it's $1,000, and so on. So that can add up pretty significantly in a statewide operation like a telephone company or a power company or a gas company. And so that's an area that I guess the utilities are starting to question because they are not directly involved in many cases in the actual damage. So the line owner is involved and the excavator is involved and the project owner is involved and the designer is involved, but the people who responded, no facilities or didn't respond, are just kind of on the peripheral of this, and they are getting fined. And I'm talking about serious numbers in a number of cases overall.
Is there a particular facility that you find it gets hit often and reported on here? One more than anything else?
Well, obviously, people are most responsive to gas and electric because damage can happen and injury can happen directly and are very well known. Also, water is another area that you don't hide very easily because it's spraying in all directions.
Right.
So those are the three most reported.
Okay. Yeah, I would have actually assumed that it was communication since they're just everywhere.
Well, in reality, that's exactly what it is. But the understanding being that typically you can't see the damage. You just know that the cable is cut. The fact that you put out a hospital, you put out, a major 911 center. Just the other day, there was a cable cut in Virginia, and it put their voter system off the map for 2 days. So obviously, at this time of year, and I've in past years had cases where in downtown Philadelphia, the network feed for the Super Bowl was cut on Super Bowl Sunday. That was a very disruptive situation by a communications cable being damaged. And obviously those things happen. The telemedicine that's happening during the COVID is extremely important. People's internet is something that they basically live by these days because they don't get their news any other way but on the internet. So it's important that communications cables are reported and talked to as well. Getting back to reporting, the law also requires that you report to the facility owner any damage that's done or damage that's found. If you didn't happen to do it, you just came across it, you are responsible to notify the company involved. If you don't know who that company is or what the telephone number is, you may call 811 and have us notify the gas company or the electric company or the telephone company involved, since you may or may not know what it is or know their name because they have changed continually for the last 25 years.
Right. Well, that's helpful to know that PA One Call can help out like that if you're searching for that information. Great. All right. So next question I have here is, with following all these AVRs, and I know people are doing it now, have you actually seen a reduction in damage since this whole AVR process begun?
Yes, we have. And that's, we haven't met our goal. Our goal is a 50% reduction in the overall damages. Back when this was in the legislative effort, we were discussing roughly 6,500 to 6,800 damages per year. We are down to about 6,000 last year, and we should be just a little less than that this year. So again, the volume of tickets last year was the greatest we've had ever, over 1 million tickets inbound.
Wow.
And one of the things that you need to understand is that as that volume grows, so does the number of locates that the utilities have to deal with. And that brings about the need to make sure that you file for a complex project to give them a little more time when there's more work involved. And you can't expect that they can do 10 days worth of work in 3 days. It just can't happen. They don't have locators sitting around waiting for your call. They are at their max, especially this time of year, the spring and fall, and sometimes the summer, depending on the weather and spring. The ticket volumes peak, and they are working overtime. They're doing Saturdays and Sundays, and it's very important that you focus and just have them mark the area that you need, not the entire city block in all directions, X number of feet. You should mark your facility in white. And I'm sorry, you should mark your dig site in white and make sure that you give a little extra so that you have a little wiggle room once you get there. I was involved in testifying in a case where person was responsible to put in a catch basin in a corner, and he showed up at the day of the job and found that he had a rainbow of color in the place where he wanted to place that catch basin. So he moved around the corner just a few feet and hit a fiber optic cable, which cost him more than what the job was paying him. I can tell you that for sure.
I'm sure. Man. All right, so just building on that last question, since we are seeing the reduction, how do you plan on reducing that number even more?
Well, again, we have 11, I'll call them agents, liaisons out in the field to help through the process. One of their primary duties is to work to facilitate the pre-construction meeting. And having a pre-construction and a pre-design meeting is clearly a best way to understand each other, because both of you have schedules to meet. Both sides have schedules to meet. When you agree, you hold to your word, mark out the particular area that's needed at that point in time. You know, you have road jobs that take, in some cases, years to complete, and the marks that you put down in the first year may not be there in the third year. It may not be there in the second year, depending on what kind of work you're doing. You are required to maintain the marks once they're put down, so that's another reason to schedule them so that they're more close to the actual excavation for that respective phase or part of the job.
Okay. Now, I, of course, don't want an AVR filed against me, so if I'm a stakeholder, how do I avoid having this happen?
Well, you pay attention to the law, and you do that by contacting one of our local liaisons. Again, you can get there on the website. There's a map. You can click on that and send them a communication or call them and ask for a presentation. Right now, that presentation is virtual, but once this COVID is under control, we will be back out in the field working with you and all excavators, all designers and facility owners and project owners that need to know more about the law. We have had the law since 1974, so it's nothing new. We've gone through this reiteration about 9 times. So we've had changes to the law basically 9 times. The 74 legislation was 4 pages. It's now up to about 17. So needless to say, it takes a little studying, and it's good to ask questions. So talk to your local liaison and have them come out or come to one of our safety days, come to one of our presentations that talk to you directly in your phase of this, so that if we're doing an excavator presentation, come to an excavator presentation. If you're a locator, we have locator presentations. Right now, again, they're available virtually on the web, and you just click on our website and go to the education tab and see what webinars are available and join one soon.
Soon. Thank you. And please, like you said, call us up. We're happy to help you out at all times. More than happy. We're waiting for your calls. All right. So do I need to report every type of damage or hit that happens out there?
You must report, if you are the excavator, you must report all damages. No choices. You must report all damages. Even if it's a minor scratch, you must report it.
Okay.
Again, they have 10 business days to file their alleged violation report on our website. Our team verifies that the information, researches the notifications that you've made or related ones that have been made by either the designer or other party, and attaches those to the information as we send it to the commission. And that way the commission has the correct address to contact you, all the information they need to complete the investigation in a timely fashion.
Okay. And so here's a little more of a story question here. So we had a subcontractor hit a water line, and the question is, does the prime contractor also have to complete an AVR since the prime was technically the low bidder, therefore hired for the project, who then hired the subcontractor to handle certain portions of the project?
The law requires the excavator to notify. So if you have filed a notification with us and you do the damage, then you are responsible to fill out the AVR and deal with it through the end process of the DPC, or if there's a serious injury, through the law department. That is an official, legally binding situation if you go through the law department. Whereas the DPC process, and the other thing is, if you go through the DPC process and you don't agree with the findings, you can escalate it to the law department, but be advised if they can add on to the penalty if you do that.
Okay. Well, Bill, that's pretty much all of my questions. Is there anything that you can think of that you'd like to add on about this whole AVR process?
Well, let's avoid it. Dial 811 first, or click and enter your notifications yourself. Homeowners, we have a web single address. You simply enter your address and up comes the parcel you own, and you may fill out the rest of the information and submit that directly. In the case of a excavator doing work at a single address, you can use the same program. If you are doing a larger project that is, let's say, up to 1,000 feet or intersection to intersection, then you can put in what we call a complex project. That is electronic only as well as the AVR. And you fill out the information, and that will then contact those that are involved, and you can communicate with them virtually using any communications service that you choose, whether it's Zoom or Teams or any of those things. You can set up the meeting and do it virtually from the office or from your home, and the other parties can join directly. One of our liaisons will help facilitate that and make sure that people will have questions and get them answered, and that the filing of the information is really important so that you can, if there is an incident, have the proof that you did comply with the law.
All right, that's great words right there. So that's everything that I wanted to ask you today. I just want to thank you very much for spending your time with me and answering all these questions for myself and for everybody out there.
My pleasure.
Thank you again. Thanks, Bill. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed our very first interview for Liaison Library number 1. That was Bill Kiger, and I hope he answered a lot of your questions. One of the questions I did see popping up here is, are we recording this, and will we have it to be able to show people? And the answer is, yeah, we're recording this, and we will be putting this on our website, and we will be having it on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch it, pass it around, show everybody all the information they missed today from Liaison Library, or if you just want to review it again. So the next thing that we're going to do now is we have a short video, and that would be the Rhino hit kit installation tutorial. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long, and after we show that, our DPL Allison Evidence is going to get on, and she's going to talk a little bit more in more detail about that video to explain exactly what's going on. And now I do see there are some more questions coming up, and after the video and Allison speaks, we're going to have a tips to stay compliant session with all the liaisons, and we're going to answer all your questions during that period. So just keep rolling the questions in, and we will get to every single one, we promise, okay? All right, so if you're ready, go ahead and let's show that video.
When arriving at the scene of a damage, after making sure that the area is safe to operate in, the first thing that you want to do is to place tools to enhance the visibility of the damage and of the marks. First, place your damage post as close to the damage as safely possible and secure it with the spike. Next, center your mark post as close as possible on a perpendicular line to the marks that are on the ground. In this particular case, we have both paint and flags. Find that mark that is as close as can be to the damage, center the post, and install the spike. Take the remaining 2 mark posts and move along the line 10 feet from the original mark. And again, back to the center. Next, remove your measuring device, placing the 0 line on the damage. And again, perpendicular to the mark. Once you have your tools employed, you want to look at the damage scene as the face of a clock. You want to take pictures around the face of that clock at 12 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock. You want to start 50 feet back at 12 o'clock. And then again at 25 feet. And then lastly, 5 to 10 feet from the damage with a good scene. Next, we would go to the 3 o'clock position, 50 feet. "25 feet. And again, a close-up. After we've taken our pictures all the way around, there's lots of other pictures that are vitally important to get. First thing, we've got an obvious location indicator. Make sure that you take pictures of street signs. Look around the damage area for excavation equipment and vehicles. There's a truck. Make sure we take a picture of that truck and any identifying characteristics. Make sure that you get a picture of the license plate. Next, scan the area to find witnesses or potential witnesses. Ask them if they saw the damage. Take pictures. Get identifications. Take pictures of their driver's licenses or any identification they provide you. Look for any excavation equipment that might be on the scene. Try to take pictures of any equipment that may have been involved in the excavation itself. Lastly, while you're on the scene, more than likely the locator may show up. Talk to the locator, take a picture. Take a picture of his vehicle as well. Make sure that you interview him. Get some statements on the damage itself. Make sure that you understand what he used to locate. Was it a complex locate? Was it simple locate? All these things are vitally important, not just to help your company recover claims, but more importantly so that we can learn what went wrong so that next time we can prevent the damage from happening in the first place.
All right, I hope everybody enjoyed the Rhino Hit Kit installation video. Next up, we're going to have Allison Evidence come on, one of my fellow liaisons, and she's going to actually expand a little bit about the video that we just saw. During our safety days that we have every year, Allison always gives the presentation outside and shows everybody exactly how this is done. So she's the expert on this. Allison, go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin. This is a really great video, and I love the fact that they show the clockwork photos and taking multiple photos and really collecting data at the scene. What I want to stress is that not only is it important to collect data after a damage has occurred, but for locators, it's really important that you go in there and you get that picture after your locates. Your pictures and your records are the data that you need to show that you've located correctly. And as an excavator, you never want to start any excavation unless you have those photos and those videos that show exactly where the lines are. Once a damage has occurred, those lines can be washed away or flags might be missing. So let's make sure that we get the photos of the markings before this ever occurs. Make sure you get the 4 components of a correct mark in there too. Remember, it's the size of the line, the correct color, the type of material the line is made out of, and the facility owner's initial, logo, or other identifier. Videos are great here. There are several apps on your phone that can help you timestamp, date stamp, and even GPS stamp the location. This really makes your photos much more valuable. And when you submit your alleged violation report to the PUC, of course, you can upload these files as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Allison. That was very informative. Well done. And now our next feature is we are going to talk more about alleged violation reports, of course, and some frequently asked questions to us. And we have 3 of my coworkers, my fellow liaisons, with us today. And I'm going to be asking them, interviewing them questions. This one's going to be live. And then as we near the end of this, if we have some time at this section, we are going to start answering your questions, and I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. So let me introduce everybody to you who we have today. First of all, I'd like to give a nice welcome to Ryan Parrish, who is our newest liaison to the team.
Thanks, Kevin. Like you mentioned, I'm the newest liaison to the team. I'm excited to be here. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. I'm always by my phone, and I'm eager to answer any question you have for me.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan. And again, welcome to the team. Next up, you just heard from her. We're going to introduce you to Allison Evidence. Allison, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Evidence. I've been a damage prevention liaison for over 8 years now. I'm very active in the local utility coordination committees, and I am a board member of the APWA. Please call me if you have any questions or if I can assist you in any way.
Thank you very much, Allison. And then finally, our number 3 panelist today, we have our longest standing member of the liaisons. I'm number 2 in line, but we have Kirkpatrick, who's number 1, who's been with us the longest. Kirk, tell us a little bit about yourself, please. And make sure you unmute yourself. That's really important.
Thank you, Kevin. As Kevin mentioned, I've been with the liaison team for the longest now. I'm coming up on 20 years. I've been with Pennsylvania One Call, and I've been in the industry since 1991. So I have some good sea legs under me. I used to work for a couple of municipalities. I also worked for a contractor. So have a good understanding of where everybody comes from. I also have a degree in architectural design. So it kind of gives you a background on myself, but I'm here to answer questions and get everybody going here. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Kirk and Allison and Ryan, all of you. Yeah, when I first started 16 years ago, it was Kirk and 3 other liaisons. There was just 5 of us, but there's so much work going on out there, and we need to get out there and educate you that we hired a lot more. So we now have 11 of us to go out there and help you and answer your questions. So great. Why don't we get into some of those questions right now? You ready to go, team? All right, thumbs up. Let's do this. All right, so first of all, Ryan, I'm going to you. And the question is about submitting the AVR is who is required to actually submit an AVR And then a follow-up question to that is, when are those folks required to do so?
Happy to answer that, Kevin. If you're an excavator, designer, project owner, or facility owner, and if you notice a company or person failing to fulfill the obligation under the PA One Call Law or PA Act 287, you can go on our website and submit an AVR.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ryan. And now to even follow that up, we have a couple possible scenarios that we're going to read out to you. And we're going to go with you first, Kirk. The first scenario is that my company hired an excavator to do work for us, and they damaged an underground line while doing the work. Do I have to submit an AVR?
Yes, Kevin. As Bill had even mentioned in his interview there, not only the excavator that has to do the work or fill out an AVR, but so does the project owner. They both have 10 business days to fill out this AVR for the strike that happened.
Great, Kirk. Thank you very much. Now, the next scenario that I'm going to present to you is to Allison. So, Allison, my company is the design firm for a project, and we were informed that a line was damaged by the excavator. Do we have to submit an AVR in this case?
Yes, Kevin. All stakeholders are required to file an AVR. Facility owners and designers have 30 business days to complete that task.
Thank you, Allison. And now, Ryan, we have one last scenario just for you. In this one, we are a facility owner and our line was damaged. However, the cost of the damage did not exceed $2,500. Do I need to submit an AVR in this case?
That's a great question, Kevin. The technical answer is no, but however, you're talking to us damage prevention liaisons, we're always going to tell you submit an AVR on any damage. We want to be able to give that to the PUC to investigate and keep records and hold anyone accountable if there's a line hit. We do not want people just hitting lines frequently.
That's a great answer. See, you don't seem like the new guy at all out there. You're doing great with all these. All right, Kirk, moving on here. Can I only report damage to an underground line on an AVR?
No, you can also report damage to, or not damage, but you can also report near misses, mismarked lines, stuff like that. So not only just damage, but you can also report other things along that line that are in violation of the legislation.
All right, follow-up question to that, Kirk. What if I'm working the backhoe and the backhoe goes up and I break a power line ahead of me? Should I fill out an AVR for that?
No, Kevin, that does not fall under the underground utility line protection law. So that is not an AVR.
All right. The reason I asked you that is because it gets asked to me actually quite often in classes, and I have to explain, yeah, it's underground utilities only. If you hit something overhead, that's on you. All right. Next, can I report, and this is to Allison, of course, I don't want to confuse anybody here. Allison, can I report more than one type of alleged violation on the same report?
Yes, Kevin. As long as the alleged violations are all for the same incident, you can report multiple violations on the same report. All you have to do is go to the ad and link it, and you can go ahead and add more than one violation.
Thank you. I know that process is very easy to do, so great explanation right there. Now we're going to move over to Ryan. A line was just damaged. Should I submit an AVR now without all the data? So I don't really have all the information quite yet. Should I just go ahead and fill it out?
Okay, I like to tell people you want to walk out of your house with one shoe. So you're not going to submit this all without all the necessary information. Depending on which stakeholder group you're a part of, if you're an excavator or project owner, you have 10 days to submit that AVR. If you're a designer or facility owner, you actually have 30 days to submit that AVR. So make sure you gather all the necessary information before you go on our website and submit that AVR.
That's another great answer. Thank you very much, Ryan. Next, Kirk, you ready to go? if one call was not notified of a damage or near miss, should I select no for the question, was the one call system notified?
Actually, Kevin, that question in the AVR is for if the one call wasn't originally notified. So if a original dig notification wasn't placed. So no, you would not answer no to that question. That is if an original one call wasn't called. So if a contractor's digging without a one call.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Kirk. And Allison, it's your turn now. What is an original serial number?
The original serial number is the serial number that the excavator is digging under.
Okay. And how many digits are in that serial number, just so people know?
There are 11 digits in the serial number.
I knew you knew the answer to that. Thank you very much, Allison. And Ryan, when I enter the original serial number in the form, the worksite information in the event information is not the correct location. Should I type in the correct location information?
Yeah, you're going to want to do that, Kevin, but you're first going to want to verify the serial number. If it's the correct serial number, you can just input that number, and then all the fields that the incorrect information is in, you can just go and switch it out for you.
Again, that seems pretty easy to do, so thank you for answering that. Now, Kirk, the contact information is not correct when I started the AVR form. Can I correct it?
Yes, Kevin. All those forms or fields are for the contact information are automatically populated for the person that's actually filling out the form. If it's not that person, you can change those names and numbers and such like that for that person. So yes, you can.
Okay, thank you very much, Kirk. And now, Allison, the next question I have for you is, I'm completing an AVR, and I'm not sure which alleged violation applies. And there are a lot of choices there, so what should I do?
Well, first off, Kevin, there are a lot of choices, and there are also additional choices under each type of scenario or issue. So if you're looking under facility owner issue and you're not finding it there, you may want to look under excavator issue or Pennsylvania one call issue or project owner issue to make sure that you're not missing it. If you still can't find it, pick the one that's closest to it. One of the things I know about the damage, Pennsylvania Utility Commission is they're looking heavily at that summary at the end. So make sure you're adding all the information there.
Great answer. And with anything, and when you see that remark section, the more information, the more details that you can give, just the more information that the PUC has to investigate. So fill it up, put as much info in there as you can. Thank you very much, Allison. And Ryan, we're moving back to you again. Can I include photos or videos when I submit an AVR?
Yes, it's actually highly recommended that you do that. As Allison mentioned in the video showed earlier, you want to take as many photos and pictures as possible so you can capture that scene. And there's no better way to capture a scene without taking a lot of photos and videos.
Right. And I assume most of you have cameras on your phones out there, so you really have no excuse not to take a picture. So use your phones, use your cameras, take as much as possible. All right. Kirk, I made a mistake on the AVR and I made a mistake on the AVR I submitted, and I have the correct or more information. Should I submit a brand new AVR?
Well, Kevin, no. What you really need to do is reply to the confirmation email you received from the original AVR and add the information into there. Pennsylvania One Call will then take that information and forward it on to the PUC.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Allison, will someone contact me after I submit an AVR?
That's a great question, Kevin. And actually, you may get a call from one of the PUC investigators if they would like some additional information about your AVR or the situation that occurred.
Great, thank you, Allison. Now, Ryan, who determines what will happen with my alleged violation report?
Yeah, Kevin, once you submit that AVR through the one-call system, it gets sent to the PUC immediately. They will investigate that and they will determine a penalty. That penalty actually becomes a recommendation that they will send over to the Damage Prevention Committee, the DPC, and they will handle it and investigate it further from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Ryan. Now, Kirk, who do I contact for the status of an AVR I submitted, or any general questions about the AVR that I submitted?
Kevin, you would need to contact the PUC, and the best way to get a hold of them is by calling them. Their phone number is 717-787-6489, and they'll be able to answer any of the questions that you have about your submitted AVR.
Okay. Are they open 24 hours a day, or do they have general hours that they answer the phone?
They are not open 24 hours a day, and I believe their main hours are either 8 or 9 to 5, just normal first shift stuff.
Okay. And then you can look on their website, of course, to see what their hours are, to see exactly what that is. All right. Thank you, Kirk. Allison. Now we're moving into some other questions here. They're not exactly AVR related, just some law questions. And then after we ask these, we're going to go right into some of our live Q&A questions. So the first one I have here, Allison, is could you explain in a little detail exactly what we mean by a lawful start date?
The lawful start date is the first day that you are able to dig on a notification legally. Now, excavators in the state of Pennsylvania are required to give between 3 to 10 business days notice before they can dig. So if I call in a notification today, tomorrow would be my first business day, Friday would be my second business day, and Monday would be my third business day or first available lawful start. However, if I told the customer service representative that I'm not going to be starting my work until Tuesday of next week, that becomes my lawful start date, and I cannot dig before that point.
All right. Thank you very much, Allison. That's a great answer right there. Now, Ryan, could you explain to us what the due date for responses is?
Sure. I'll start with the emergency response. With emergency response, you must respond within 2 clock hours or as soon as practicable, and that is by making direct contact or physically responding to the site. We also have preliminary and final designs. Those are 10 business days to respond from when the locate request is made. We also will have a complex project meeting. You must have your response in the day prior to that meeting. And there's also a complex project meeting where there's no meeting requested, and you can respond to that as you would respond to a routine notification. And with a routine notification, you have 2 business days to respond, and that response needs to be in by 11:59 p.m. the night before the lawful start date that Allison was just talking about.
Great, Ryan. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And now, Kirk, here's the burning question that gets asked to me all the time. How much does all of this cost? What is the annual fee to be a member of PA One Call? And then we'll follow that up with who actually gets charged that annual fee.
Okay, Kevin, the annual fee for an excavator is $125 a year, unlimited usage. And that's on a calendar year based, and it gets charged them on the first call of the year. So the annual fee is given to an excavator. Homeowners working on their own property don't get charged an annual fee. It's zero for them to call. Facility owners that are members of ours, that are facility owner members of Pennsylvania One Call, don't get charged the annual fee, but they get charged per notification that they would receive from us. There you go.
Great. Thank you very much, Kirk. Now, those are all the questions that we wrote down and we were ready to answer. But now we're going to go into the uncharted territory of the live Q&A where anything can happen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start reading questions off, and friends out there, or my fellow 3 liaisons, just raise your hand if you want to be the one who answers that question, and then I'm going to pick you. So it's a game of who raises their hand first, all right? No fighting. So first of all, we already answered the first question, is this being recorded? And the answer again is absolutely yes. We're going to record every single episode of Liaison Library. We're going to stick it onto our website. We're going to have it on our YouTube channel so it can be shared with everybody. And please do that. We feel that there's a lot of information that you can learn from this, that can be gained from this. So please go to the site afterwards and look for it. Will it be ready right away? Probably not. I'm sure we're going to edit it a little bit to make it look clean and slick, and then we'll put it out to you as soon as possible. I believe that our in-house editor, Greg Danks, will be doing that, and he's very fast and efficient with it. So it'll be up sooner than you know. All right. The next question we have here is a camera absolutely necessary? I don't have one, but participate in MS Teams, Zoom, WebEx meetings regularly. Now, I would assume this means for the DPC Council meetings, do they need a camera? Who would like to answer that question? Allison, you're up.
Hi, Kevin. You can actually call into the DPC meetings and just participate by phone.
Okay, great. Yeah, you don't need to have a camera for it at all. As long as you have a microphone really to be able to speak, that's all we want to do is be able to hear you. So great, thank you very much. Let's see, the next question is another recorded question. So the answer again is yes, we will be having this up for everyone. Let's see, next one, what do we got? Okay, we have a question here is, can we hold contractors accountable for this? And Kirk had his hand up before I could even finish the question. So Kirk, let's get to you. What do you got?
I'm assuming this is also talking about some of the questions that Bill was talking about, and absolutely, you can hold the contractor accountable for damage to your facility.
All right, very good. The next question I have here is it required to mark the dig site in white? And if so, should we handle a company, or how should we handle a company not doing so? I saw Ryan's hands go up. Ryan, you're up. Let's go.
If you're talking to us damage prevention liaisons, we're always going to tell you to mark your site in white because you want you to be accurate. If you can't do that, however, you can provide specific locations where you're digging. That can be GPS coordinates. And if you're not doing either of them, then you're not going to know where to dig, and that's actually a violation of the law, and you can submit the AVR that we've just been talking about today.
Okay, thank you very much, Ryan. Like Ryan was saying, it's the safest thing to do. So we want you to mark in white, because how else is a locator going to really know where the site is? I mean, we don't want them just going out there and marking out an entire field. So please mark in white at all times. All right. The next question is, oh, it looks like someone had some trouble getting in. I'm very sorry that you missed the first few minutes of the presentation. What you missed, just so you know, was me with an opening little speech, and not to be missed. You'll be able to see that later. And of course, just the very beginning of the interview with Bill Kiger. You missed the first few minutes of that. You will be able to see everything. And I apologize that you weren't able to get in. I don't know what's going on with the technology side. I'm just the pretty face in front of the camera talking right now, but we'll look into that and find out. All right. Now, the next question is an AVR required when damage occurs to a privately owned line? Kirk's hands up. Let's go, Kirk.
All right. As an excavator, you are required to report all damage. It does not state whether it's private or public. So yes, you are required to report even on privately owned lines.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, hit anything, report it. It's pretty simple like that. So the next question is, all right, I didn't quite follow the discussion regarding the subcontractors. If I hire a sub and the sub damages a utility, are we both required to submit an AVR? Allison, you are up.
Yes, you are both required to submit an AVR because as the prime contractor, you do have some project owner obligations as well.
And again, we just want everyone's side of the story. So if you were there and you're present, we want your side. Tell us, let us know. Okay, you're all doing great so far. We got the when will the recording be available? I don't have a time or a date. I'm just going to say very soon. We'll have it out to you very soon. And I'm happy that you're all very interested in seeing it. So that makes us feel good. We put a lot of work into this liaison library. So we hope it is beneficial for everyone and everyone at your company. Okay, the next question I have here is, how do I respond to a one call if I know there are private lines, but I am unable to locate them? Who would like to answer that one? Kurt, thank you for volunteering.
If you do not own the line, and your lines are properly marked, you're going to say you're marked for your lines, but privately owned lines, if they're working, say, in private property and you don't have the ability to mark the lines in private property, those lines don't belong to you, your response would be clear because those are on private property and they're not yours.
Okay. And it's always good to let them know that that's the situation, because the key to this whole thing is communication. The more that we talk to each other, the more information that can be found. So even if you, so I should say, if you know those lines are on the property, but you don't own them, speak up, say that. Say, yeah, I know there's something there. I just don't know where they are. You're going to have to, find them using prudent techniques. So thank you very much, Kirk. And then it looks like this is actually a follow-up question. And it says, how do I respond to a one call if the work is already completed? Well, we don't like that situation very much, but let's answer that one, Allison.
You respond either marked or clear to that one call. And if the work was completed without it being before the lawful start date, make sure you fill out an AVR for that as well.
That's a great one for you to answer, Allison, since you just talked about the lawful start date just a little bit ago. That's correct. Great job. All right, our next question here. If the fees increase by $250 for a single facility owner for each AVR, can the fees extend above $2,500? That's a good question. Can anyone answer that one? Kirk, go for it.
The fees cannot extend over $2,500, as in the penalties cannot extend over $2,500. Now, if they go in front of the, as Bill mentioned, if it goes in front of the law departments and it's that big of a thing, then yes, the fees can be increased there, but not from the damage prevention committee.
Okay. Yeah, they cap it there. So great. Thank you very much. Now, our next question is, if I make an emergency one call, do I have to wait for responses? And if so, how long? Go ahead, Allison.
We do ask that you wait 2 hours. Now, of course, that's going to be based on the type of emergency that you're dealing with, but we do collect all the responses and push them out after 2 hours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Allison. And our next question is what if you exceed the 10 or 30-day limit? Is this a fine? I assume that's for submitting an AVR. Yep, Allison, go ahead.
If you exceed the 10 or 30-day limit, I would still file the AVR. There may or may not be a penalty applied, but definitely file the AVR. Not filing an AVR at all is definitely something that can get you a penalty.
Correct. Yeah, you do want to file it no matter what, even if you go past those days. Just fill it out because the PUC can't investigate anything if they don't have the information. So please do it even after the fact. All right, the next question here is, who determines if the damage exceeds $2,500 in order to determine if an AVR is required? Can anyone answer that one?
Ryan.
Ryan, go for it.
Like I mentioned earlier, the PUC investigates that and they come up with a penalty and they send that penalty over to the DPC as a recommendation, and the DPC will actually determine if that was an actual alleged violation of the law and hand out that penalty.
Okay. Simply fill it out if you're not sure either way and let them determine it, but always fill it out if you're not sure. All right, next, why would a contractor submit an AVR on a utility owner that they're working for? So why would they tell on their own friends? Allison.
AVRs are a requirement of the Pennsylvania One Call Law. Act 287 is amended. Not filing an AVR you can be penalized for it.
Yep, absolutely. Fill them all out. All right, so now we have, this must have been for a previous question right here. It says, to elaborate more, what can we do if a contractor constantly calls in tickets that say mark entire property, not marked in white, also taking advantage of the emergency tickets, calling in emergency tickets that do not fall under the emergency category, or digging on complex meeting tickets without a routine ticket? Sorry, so many issues. So that's a lot of questions all rolled into one. Why don't we break that apart just a little bit? Because I'm just reading in front of me. I didn't realize there was a bunch of different questions. So let's start with the first one. Who wants to answer? What can we do if a contractor constantly calls in tickets that say mark entire property, but not marked in white? Kirk, go ahead.
Okay. The contractor, as Ryan had stated earlier, the contractor is required to mark it out in white if they can't be site specific. So you are obligated to mark out the scope of the ticket, but you can also do an AVR on them to get the PUC involved in this one kind of a situation. So that's the start there.
Okay. And then following up, the next question of that is also taking advantage of emergency tickets, like calling in emergency tickets that do not fall under the definition of an emergency. Who would like to answer that one? Yep, Allison?
You can file an AVR for somebody who's taking advantage of that. And, you know, I would encourage you to do so, but also encourage you to reach out to your local liaison so that we can call them and provide them with some additional education.
And I just want to add, though, if you don't believe it's an emergency and they call it an emergency, you still have to treat it like an emergency. You can't make that determination on your own. So you still have to treat it that way. But then what Allison said is what the direction that you need to go. The next is or digging on complex meeting tickets without a routine ticket. Who wants to talk about that? Yep, Allison, go for it.
You cannot dig on a complex meeting ticket without having a routine ticket, so that is a violation of the law. Please make sure again that you are filling out an AVR, contacting your local liaison, and making sure that these people get educated on the correct and proper way to do things.
Great answer. We're here to help. So you have questions or issues, call us and we'll make the calls that we need to do to help you out. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of questions here. This is great. Okay, the next question I have is, if someone starts a project prior to start date, is that an AVR? Ryan, your hand went up first. Let's go.
Yeah, you have to wait till your lawful start date to actually start digging, because you want to give that facility owner the proper time to mark out their facilities to avoid damages. Even if they do mark out their facilities in that time frame, you still have to wait for your lawful start date to start digging.
And the answer is yes, that's an AVR. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, next. It says, oh, this one's specific for Allison. All right. Allison, after the 10-day, do you have to call for another mark out if the work hasn't started yet?
Yes. If you placed a ticket and you didn't start within the 10 business day period, you do need to place an update ticket. 3 business days notice is required for that update ticket. Also, even if you had started the work, if you've taken your equipment off the site for more than 2 days or your markings have become compromised, you also need an update ticket in those scenarios too. We do want to make sure that people aren't just calling in update tickets for projects that they're not going to start. Please make sure you are planning accordingly, because we don't want to be wasting any resources, but you absolutely do need an update ticket at that point.
Great answer, Allison. Thank you very much. And feel free to call out your favorite liaison if you want them to specifically answer your question. That's no problem at all. We all have our favorites. Now, next, can we hold a utility company accountable for lost time in production for mismarking a line or not marking their lines correctly? And who would like to answer that one? Yep, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, we don't account for downtime. If there's an issue like that, I suggest you go back to your project owner and have that discussion with him.
That is a great answer. We don't make at One Call any determinations or tell you, who's going to get billed or anything like that. That's for you on your side to fill out or figure out. We're primarily here to tell you what the law says. All right. Now we have I want to add that there is a time that a facility owner must put in an AVR by law. Okay. Who will be responsible for AVRs when there are multiple contractors and or subcontractors? And I guess that was the follow-up to it, is that I want to add there is a time that a facility owner must put in an AVR by law. Okay, go ahead. Kirk? Kirk, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
A facility owner still must do an AVR, and their time frame on that is 30 days if their line was hit. Now, if they're the project owner, they have 10 business days. So yes, everybody that's involved in this still needs to do their proper AVRs when there's damage done.
Okay, so again, that's everyone. Everyone does it. All right. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my computer slowed down for a second. Oh, we got everything working again. Excellent. All right, the next question is, in relation to an AVR, would a state agency like PennDOT be considered an owner when they contract out a construction project? And would the contractor end up being the temporary owner? That's a good question. Who wants to answer that one? Kirk, you are up.
Okay, PennDOT is still the project owner. So they are the owner of the project, even if they, so even if PennDOT is the project owner on the job and they contract out other parts of it, those are the excavators for the job or other designer or such like that, but PennDOT is still the project owner. Is that what they're asking?
I believe so. If that's not what you're asking, please follow up the question and we'll answer that. All right. Next, we just got a kudos. Thank you all. Great information. So good job, everybody. We're still moving on here. We still have more questions. What if a utility responds clear, but you absolutely know they have utilities on site? Allison.
On the morning of excavation, you can re-notify that facility owner or owners if more than one person has done it. As long as your equipment's on site, you haven't begun digging, and your ticket is routine, that facility owner will have 2 hours to get in direct contact with you.
Communication, communication, communication. Talk to them. Find out what's going on. Whatever you do, don't just dig if you think there's something there. All right. What if a company puts in a sooner dig date than the lawful start date? Are they in violation if they start on the earlier date? Who would like to answer that question? Yep, go ahead, Allison.
So if a contractor starts work before the lawful start date, they are in violation of the act and you should fill out an AVR.
Well, so now this one says though, but if they put in a sooner dig date than the lawful dig date, so they actually type that in before they're allowed to.
Oh, so they're placing an insufficient notification ticket. Okay, yes,
right
they
there.
are in violation of the one call law.
Yep.
You're never ever to dig before the lawful dig date.
You had the right answer just to the wrong question. That's
Yes.
all. So now that we cleared it up, that is correct. All right. Yeah, because if it's not an emergency, they shouldn't be putting something in before they should start digging. That's just not supposed to happen that way. All right. We have a 100-acre site, woods, and cornfields. How do we mark it all in white? Or the best way to describe this area for facility owners. Kirk wants to answer this. It sounds like his property right now, so let's talk about it. Nope, Kirk. You're going to have to unpause yourself. Or
Not
unmute.
quite. I only have 10 acres, but anyway, this size of a project would definitely fall under a complex project. So you're going to want to have a complex meeting set up and have everything put together so that you call everybody together and show them exactly what you plan on doing so they can get out and mark your area. This is larger than a single locate, a reasonable single locate.
Great answer, Kirk. Yeah, because that would be a lot of paint, a lot of extra expense right there. That's why the complex meeting gets you all together. You can get them on site. You can talk to them. It's the best way to go about something like that. All right, the next question here is, are facility owners required to field mark their utility in response to a design one call? Yes, Allison.
Design one calls aren't dig tickets. You cannot dig on a design one call. So facility owners have the option of either providing field marks or providing maps with the position of their facility lines. So you can send them plans and they can draw their facility lines on your plans, or they can provide field marks.
Yep, absolutely. And if you absolutely want a facility owner to mark out the grounds on your design ticket, you want to make sure you put that in the remarks. Now, it's not required of them, but you should communicate with them that that's what you're looking for. All right, the next question we have here is, can we keep refreshing the paint marks utility owners left from the PA1 call to keep it visible? Oh, that's a very good question right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about refreshing paint marks. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yes, it's your responsibility to preserve your markings on the site. However, so if you can keep refreshing the marks, go ahead. However, if they do get compromised, it is required a update ticket.
All right, I'm gonna correct you on one thing right there, Ryan. Okay, and because Ryan's one of the newer guys, so Ryan, actually the way it works is you cannot refresh your own paint marks at all. You may never, if you're the excavator, don't ever put down paint for a line that you do not own or does not belong to you. Not allowed at all. You must call the facility owner directly and then ask them to refresh the paint for you. That does not even, you don't even need to place a brand new one call for that. As long as you can still see the marks just a little faded, call the facility up directly, say, hey, could you come out here and refresh these marks? And it is their job to do so, but don't ever mark a paint line that you don't own, okay? And of course, if they just disappear completely and you can't see the lines at all, that's a brand new one call, wait 3 business days all over again and have them come out and mark the lines, okay? All right, thank you very much. And I think that's all the questions that we have for right now. So what we're gonna do, and that was actually perfect timing, right up to 11:30. We will have time to answer more questions in the final 15 minutes at the end. So if you have more questions, don't be shy. These are great questions here. Keep putting them in there and we will go ahead and answer them. So Liaisons team, thank you so much for answering all those questions. Everybody did an excellent job. And the next thing that we're going to move on to today is a video on how to submit an AVR. Greg Danks and myself produced, acted, wrote, put this whole thing together. It's brand new, so we hope you enjoy it. And this can also be found on our YouTube channel if you want to show other people on its own. So here is the entire process from beginning of end and filling out the AVR form. Enjoy.
Hey, Kevin, you're not going to believe what happened the other day.
Hey, Greg. Well, what happened? Are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine, but my crew hit a water line. It was a huge mess.
Were you digging inside the tolerance zone with powered equipment?
No way. Big Dog Excavators always follows the law. We were 6 feet away from the markings when we hit the water line with our backhoe. My crew sat around for 3 hours. What do I do?
The first thing you need to do is fill out an AVR.
An AV. What?
An AVR, you know, an alleged violation report. It's quite simple. Let me show you how. Hi, my name's Kevin Goldblum, and I'm a damage prevention liaison with the Pennsylvania One Call system. And today, we're going to talk about AVRs. I'm going to tell you who needs to fill one out, when it needs to be filled out by, and then we're going to take you through the entire process of filling out the form. First, let's go over a couple of definitions. An alleged violation means an instance when a person by action or inaction fails to fulfill an obligation of PA Act 287 as amended. An alleged violation report is the completion of an online form by a stakeholder to record the instance of an alleged violation to the PUC, which stands for the Public Utility Commission. Who needs to submit an AVR, and when does it need to be completed? All stakeholders, which include excavators, designers, project owners, and facility owners, must submit an AVR to the PUC through the PA One Call System's website at www.pa1call.org. The time frame in which you have to fill out an AVR is dependent on your role in the alleged violation. Project owners and excavators are obligated to fill out an AVR within 10 business days of the alleged violation. Facility owners and designers must fill out the AVR within 30 business days. Obviously, you are here because an incident took place, so now I'm going to show you how to report an alleged violation. To begin, we will follow these 4 steps. 1. Go to our website, www.pa1call.org/enforcement. 2. Log into the website. If you do not already have a user ID and password, you must create one first. 3. Click on the link. Report an alleged violation. 4. Complete the AVR form, which I will now take you step by step through the process. To make it easier to work within the form, it helps to collapse each section before you begin. Now the headings of the sections that you will need to fill out are visible. I'm going to look at the contact information at the top of the form, which was automatically populated by your login information. You have the option to update the contact information to whomever at your company will receive the correspondence moving forward. If I see anything that is incorrect, I will be able to change it. The first section of the form is labeled Role. Here, you will select which role or roles you played in the alleged violation, and designate which group you are representing. If this company is not your own, simply click Yes and specify its name. You can submit for multiple roles. If you are a homeowner and hire someone to do the work, you are considered the project owner. If you are doing the work yourself, you're the excavator. In this example, I am the excavator representing my own company. Some of the questions in this form will have asterisks. These fields are mandatory. Some will have question marks, which will offer additional information. The role section is complete, and we will now move on to alleged violation information. If you received a letter from the PUC referring to a violation, it will include the case number. You will enter the case number on here along with any related AVR numbers. In my example, I do not have a case number, so I will leave these questions blank. Next, we will determine the type of alleged violation. First, select the party at fault, and then specify the part of the law that was allegedly violated. In this example, it was a facility owner issue, and the reason was that the lines were marked incorrectly. Next to each violation is the clause in which it can be found in the law. You may add more than one reason, if necessary. From there, select the date and time of the alleged violation. If I had not notified the PA one-call system before the job began, I would click No. This is only applicable if I called PA one-call before the job began. In my example, the one-call system was notified, so I will enter my serial number and any others that may be related to this damage. If I am exempt from placing a one-call for my work, I will state the reason for exemption here. Now that we have completed the alleged violation information, we'll move on to the event information. First, identify the location in which the alleged violation took place. If you do not have a serial number, you will need to manually input all of this information. Because I entered a serial number, all of my information has been populated for me. Be sure to double-check these answers and make any necessary corrections. Now that we've completed the event information, we will move on to the affected facility information. First, choose if the primary right-of-way is public or private, and specify the type of property. You'll have different answers in the next field depending on what you pick. In my example, it was a public right-of-way on a city street. Next, select the type of line affected. Again, in my example, a water line was hit, and we will then choose distribution. Then, record the contact information of the affected facility owner. We will now indicate if it was a joint trench. If the alleged violation involved a crossbore, and the measured depth from grade. The affected facility information section is now complete, so we will move on to the work information tab. If applicable, note the start date and the time of the excavation work. If I had chosen the role of designer in the roles section, I will not have to answer this question. Record the name and contact information of the excavation company involved in the alleged violation. In my example, this is Dig Dug Inc., the company I work for. Next, answer the following questions about the specifics of the excavation. In my example, I marked it in white because I always mark in white. Since the equipment I utilized was my backhoe, I will select digging for the next question. Next, I will specify the type of excavator I am, a home builder. There are now 2 multiple choice questions to answer. I selected that I did indeed incur downtime, so I now must indicate how much, and the estimated cost of it. Was a response posted to the one-call system? In my example, the call response I received in my email for the water company said marked. What level of subsurface utility engineering was utilized? What was the estimated cost of the entire project? If a project costs over $400,000, you are required by law to use subsurface utility engineering. The length of the entire project was 400 feet. Last, I will record the name and contact information of the project company owner. This information should be on the one-call ticket as the work being done for. Because we have completed the Work Information tab, it is now time to move on to the Event Impact section. First, we answer the question, did the violation result in underground damage or a near-miss event? As I stated earlier, I hit an underground water line. The next series of questions are yes or no. Was an OSHA report filed? If yes, include the report number. Was 911 called? If yes, state who made the call. Had I hit a gas line and it was an emergency situation, 911 is always the first call that I would make. Did the incident cause any injuries or deaths? If the answer to either of these questions is yes, then state the number of each. Since there were no injuries or deaths in my example, I will leave both blank. Next, was there an evacuation? If yes, state the amount of people who were evacuated. Was traffic stopped? Was service interrupted? Yes, service was interrupted for 6 to 12 hours, and approximately 11 to 50 customers were affected. Now select the cost of the damaged line to be repaired. I will select between $5,001 to $25,000. Was other property damaged? If yes, identify what was damaged and how much it cost to repair. Now that we've completed the Event Impact tab, we will move on to the Locator and Locate Information section. First, fill out the name and contact information for the facility line locator. In my example, it was an employee locator. Because I clicked this option, the contact fields disappear. Then, answer the following questions about the markout. My lines were inaccurately marked, but they were marked according to APWA CGA standards. Both paint and flags were present. No offset markings were used, and the marks were visible. Was the line marked by the response due date? I was working outside of the tolerance zone. There was no clear indication of underground facilities in my excavation area, so I will select no. If I know the method used to locate the underground facilities, then I will indicate it here. No, we did not request payment from PennDOT. If you have any additional locate comments, be sure to add them here. The last thing you will need to do is tell your side of what happened during the alleged violation. Do not forget to add pictures if you have them. Events can be typed in or uploaded. So I was digging over 6 feet away from the markings, and I hit the waterline. I have pictures of the site before excavation began, with markings and landmarks clearly visible, and then pictures after the damage occurred. Each picture is less than 10 megabytes for uploading. Click Submit, and your AVR form is complete. Now that we've completed this form, you may be wondering what happens next. The data is immediately transmitted to the PUC. PA1 call staff will review each report and search for related tickets. Then, PA1 call sends the additional information to the PUC. A PUC investigator is assigned to the case. All involved parties are contacted for AVR submission if they have not done so already. PUC investigators will determine violations and recommend warnings, penalties, or further education to the Damage Prevention Committee, otherwise known as the DPC. The DPC meets on the second Tuesday of every month, and it is live streamed on the PUC website. You may be called in to testify. The DPC will determine if you get a warning, penalty, or asked to attend further educational training. If you have questions on the status of your AVR, you can always call the PUC hotline at 717-787-6489.
Wow, filling out an AVR is much easier than I thought.
I told you it was simple. If you have any questions, please contact your local damage prevention liaison. Thank you for taking the time to watch and learn today, and please dig safely.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed that video. Hope it was informative and showed you how simple it is to fill out the AVR form. All right. So we have about 15 minutes left here, and all we're going to do now is just answer questions that you threw at us. I see that I did miss a few of them early on, just by missing my scrolling through. So I'm going to go back and try to answer those. And we had a bunch of new ones come in, and we're going to answer those too in the last 15 minutes that we have here. So team, are you all ready to go? Allison, Kirk, Ryan? All right. So The first one was, will we be notified when the recording is available? I'll just say yes. We'll let everybody know. We'll send out an email, something, because we want you to see this. We want everybody to know when it is, so we won't hide it from anybody. You will know. We'll send out something for you. All right. Next, is there a limit to the number of emergency requests made? Who would like to answer that question? Yep, go ahead, Allison.
The caller always determines if it's an emergency. We actually read the definition of emergency, which is a sudden or unforeseen occurrence involving a clear and immediate danger to life, health, property, and or the environment, and ask if this is an emergency. If the caller says yes, then we put it in as an emergency. There is not a limit on the number of emergency tickets that any facility owner or person can place.
Thank you very much, Allison. The next question I have here is, what if an AVR has too little information? Can this be a violation? And they also added that there is a time that a facility owner must put in the AVR by law. So what if it has too little information? Allison, go ahead.
You should always put in all the information you have into the AVR, because it is important in terms of relaying what happened in the incident. There are certain parts of the form that you may not be able to fill out. And if you can't fill that out, I've never heard of anybody being penalized for too little information. Facility owners and designers have 30 business days to fill out an AVR, and excavators and project owners have 10 business days to complete that AVR.
Thank you very much, Allison. Great answer. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the new question. I think I got all the old ones there. Let me scroll down here. Okay, so the next question is that when can a homeowner remove flag markers from their property? Yep, Allison, go ahead.
Actually, the excavator should actually be removing those flags as part of the cleanup for that job. So once they know that there is no longer going to be any excavation work happening, those flags can be removed.
Thank you very much, Allison. Now, after an AVR is submitted, is there a way to search for an AVR by company, date, location, etc.? My understanding is the one-call system is just a clearinghouse to submit the AVR, but they're not stored there. We submitted an AVR in the past, but lost our copy computer-related. Can we also search AVRs submitted by others? Kurt, your hand went up first. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Sorry. As you stated in your question, Pennsylvania One Call is the clearinghouse. So we get them and we send them on to PUC. The only way you're going to be able to find out about AVRs that you had submitted is by contacting the PUC. And I do not believe they're going to allow you to look at AVRs that you are not a part of.
I believe that to be true too. All right, thank you, Kirk. Now here's a long question, so who wants to take this one on? Are contractors entitled to submit losses for time/materials to the project owner when a gas line is hit due to an unmarked utility? And the example is digging in an area that was called in, but no marks were made. He goes on by saying, I am familiar with Section 5 on responsibilities of the excavator, but assume this only applies to injury to person or property. What about lost time for the crew? And what if we assist with damage control during an outage caused by a hit? For example, flagging when power is out to traffic lights or assistance of digging, etc. Anyone want to tackle this one? We're all thinking about this one for a moment here, so you're gonna have to give us, because that's a long question. Allison was first. Go for it.
The project owner for any project over $400,000 should be completing SUE data. And the excavator should be looking at the relevance of that data based on the markings that they have before the job is started. There are some times where the project owner can be responsible for additional work when the line is not found within the tolerant zone. So that's a really interesting question. It's definitely very specific in terms of the details, and I think we'd probably need to hear more details before we could give a really great answer about that. Because there is a line hit, you should definitely be filling out the AVR. But for that specific instance, if you have more information, we'd sure like to have you talk to a liaison.
And that's the most important thing, is if you want your questions answered even more, just call one of us up and we'll be happy to help you out. Give us some time to think about some of these long questions. All right. Thank you very much, Allison, for being very brave there. And the next one is, are AVR forms different depending on the entity completing? For example, is the excavator form different from the designer form? Anyone want to answer that? Ryan raised his hand. Let's go.
Yeah, Kevin, it's all one form, but the drop-down boxes are different for each violation you have.
That is correct. Form's the same, but as you answer the questions, things vary on the form depending on how you answer them. Great job. All right. Next one is, how could you know a lot of the event information like customers affected, costs of line, etc., as the excavator? It's a good question. Yep, Kirk, go for it. Kirk.
Okay, you may not know the information, but as the excavator, those things are allowed to be blanked out for you. You don't have to answer those ones in there, because you may not know the answers to those questions. Those questions are more geared at the facility owner to answer.
There's a little asterisk on all the mandatory questions on the form, and if it's not mandatory, you don't have to answer it. I mean, put as much information as you can, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. All right, next. Is the excavator required to submit an AVR if the facility owner / locator declares that the line that was hit is dead or abandoned? Does the answer change if dead line was marked / mismarked or unmarked? Nope. Who wants to answer that one? Yep, Allison, go for it.
If you have hit a line, even if it was dead or abandoned, you should still complete an AVR.
Without, no matter what?
Yeah.
All right. And I see one more question here, so unless anyone else wants to throw one up there, let's go with this one. My excavating company has submitted about 50 AVRs over the past 1 to 2 years, but I've never been contacted about any of them yet. Why not? I think I'll just answer that. The best question is that we don't have an answer to that. For specific answers, what you should do is call the PUC hotline and talk to them directly about it. And that phone number is 717-787-6489. Please call them, use the number that is associated with your AVR and talk to them about it. And that's the best way to go, because I'd want to know the answer to that too. All right. Do we have any more questions here? I'm just looking down real quick to make sure I did not miss anything at all. Does anyone else see a question that I might have missed? Because I want to make sure I get them all. Wait, I do see someone, looks like we got emailed some questions here. Did we already ask these? No, these were already answered, so we got these already. So I believe that's everything for today. Well, I just want to thank everybody very much for joining us for our very first Liaison Library, Episode 1, AVRs. I just want to thank a few people real quickly. First of all, thank you, Bill Kiger, for joining us today and interviewing with us. That was a great interview that we had. I'd like to thank my 3 fellow liaisons that are on with us today that did an amazing job answering all the questions. And that would be Allison Evidence, Ryan Parrish, and Kirk Kirkpatrick. He had to drop off real quickly. I also want to give a very special thanks to Mark Lipka. He ran everything behind the scenes today. He filled in for our friend Marcos Bernal, who went off and had a baby, so he couldn't fulfill his obligations because of that whole reason. But Mark, thank you very much. And of course, I want to thank Norm Parrish for being our team leader and helping us out with everything. So if you have any other questions at all, we will throw up the screen at the very end with all of our information and our numbers. So please call us. You can see on this right here, you can see the county that they all work in. Like I do Adams, Cumberland, Franklin, Fulton, Lancaster, York. So if you want to go ahead and give me a call from those counties, please do. If I'm not around or I don't answer my phone, all other 10 liaisons are available for you, and we go into each other's territories all the time. Call any one of us. We all have the same information. And if they can't answer your question right away, the good news is we'll just come back and we'll get the information for you. So again, thank you for that. The last 2 things I want to remind everybody of is that if you need a presentation, we're not doing face-to-faces, but we are doing online presentations. Look on our education calendar, check it out. Everything's free. Almost every single morning we do a presentation and be more than happy. If there's a specific one that you're looking for, call us up. We'll set up a time, a date with you, and we'll just present right to your company. We have no problem doing that online. And then the second thing I wanted to say was that brand new website's coming tomorrow. It's going to go live at 4 p.m. So if you see something different, you didn't go to the wrong place or anything like that. That's just our brand new website that's going to be better and more convenient for you. So the next thing that we want you to know is that we have a new one, number 2, Liaison Library number 2. That's going to be on November the 18th, and that one will be on gas safety. So we'll have, I believe it is Columbia Gas will be talking with us, and there'll be various other interviews throughout the day. So please join us again for Liaison Library Episode 2, Gas Safety on November the 18th. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you learned a lot. We had a lot of fun putting this on and all the work that went behind it. It really was great. So thank you and have a great day. And everybody, please dig safely.